Welcome, everybody. This is our first show of From Battlefront to Homefront. It's a Mission United podcast and brought to you by, of course, Sober Life Studios and One Brother, One Sister. And doing this with my friend Sean MacPhee, which we've known each other for a little while now, and had a chance. You were on one of our other shows, and we talked about the great programs you're involved in. And from that, we figured that this is a great show to have on its own to really highlight what's going on with our veterans, the programs that are available to them. And sometimes it's not lack of services, it's lack of knowledge about the services that are out there. So that's what we want to be talking about. We're going to be having great guests. We're going to see you guys once, sometimes twice a month, depending on what's going on. But make sure that you like this show, share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe to our channel. We'd appreciate that very much. Sean, how are you, brother?
I'm doing fantastic. You know, coming in the end of that hot season and cool season. Hopefully the hurricanes will go away soon. So I'm doing pretty well.
We've been lucky this year.
Yeah,
we've been lucky. We've seen a lot. Not so lucky up in the what is that? Where it comes to the bend. They call it the bend. I used to call it the crotch, and it doesn't sound as good. It's the bend. The bend, and they got hit a couple times in Tampa. But anyway, this is interesting. First of all, Mission United is an initiative started by United Way. In a nutshell, what is Mission United? Because everybody knows United Way. They got so many things that they do. But what is Mission United?
That's the most common question I get when I'm out in public. People are like, what's Mission United? And as soon as I say, do you know United Way? They're like, yeah, I know that. So approximately 13 years ago, there were a group of community partners, owners, and people that were affiliated with United Way. We're seeing a lot of homeless veterans. And so we need to do something. So they sat down and collaborated with United Way and said, listen, we need to do something that initially focuses primarily on those veterans that are down on their luck, those that are homeless or facing homelessness, or, you know, they're on a low income scale and they need help just to get a leg up. It's not, you know, like giving them a free ride. So they collaborated and came up with this whole concept of helping veterans and their families overcome whatever obstacles they are to get their life back on track, as well as helping those military members who leave military service. Maybe, you know, they didn't plan accordingly. Oh, like, where do I go from here? So that was the whole concept behind it. And it's started here primarily in Broward County, but it's expanded in almost several locations throughout Florida. And we're constantly growing. We're constantly receiving new grants. We're moving into new areas. It's a constant moving entity that hopefully at one point that will be able to be nationwide and helping veterans and their family members.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned the homeless crisis, which is a national crisis across the board. Without veterans, so veterans, it makes up a pretty good large portion of the homeless population, more than people would think. You would think our veterans from the greatest military on earth. I don't think anybody would argue with that. We've got the greatest military, the greatest leaders, the greatest soldiers, the greatest equipment. We can kick butt anywhere we go. And to think that somebody would leave that, they were in for 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, whatever, unless they go career. Yeah. For somebody to leave there and then walk into a place where they have no place to go. It's hard to even imagine. Why is that happening? What is the breakdown there?
Oh, that is actually another common question people ask me about how come now.
I want to make sure it's not everybody who's just PTSD or comes back with an addiction or an alcohol. No, it's everybody across the board.
Yeah, that's a common misnomer when it comes to the homeless people. Is the fact is everybody thinks it's either related to a drug incident or a criminal path. It's not. It's actually a very small portion of the homeless people are affected by PTSD. I mean, even though a lot of them is just because of knowledge or the information was shared to them or whatever. So it all comes out is, you know, a lot of people are unaware is before 1990, there was no transition program for military. And if you think about that over the hundreds of years that we've had military people, before 1990, it was, hey, your contract's up, have a nice day, you're on your own. And then it wasn't until later on that a transitional program came in where they got a little bit of training for hey, listen, this is how it works. This is how the VA works. It wasn't until President Obama signed into law in November of 2011 a rigorous program that they were required to go through this checklist over a 12-month period. These are and you sign, I went to these people. And then at the end, they sit you down with an independent contractor and say, hey, listen, did they tell you about these? Are you aware? But even then, they only scratch about 50% of the benefits and entitlements that come to a military person. So when people get out, depending on the reasons why they got out, some of them don't prepare. Yeah. Some of them don't think ahead. They're used to a certain style of life and a certain way things would go. And all of a sudden, depending on how much vacation time they have left, it all comes to a halt real quick, and they didn't plan for it, and their life changes, and they start making decisions that were good for the military but are not good in work in the civilian life, and then they make poor choices, and then things go sideways, and then next they lost their job, and just.
Well, you're saying a lot of these things happen over a 12-month period, but during that 12 months, you also could be serving in another country. It's a very distracting time. It's like what you're learning there. I'm just guessing that what you're learning there is not going to take as well as if you have time to focus on that.
Correct.
You're learning this, and then you got to go. You're in the desert somewhere, or you're somewhere doing something. So there's all sorts of distractions there, and it just seems like the preparation to become a soldier is so much more strenuous than the preparation to become a citizen.
Yeah.
And it seems there should be a little bit more focus on that without being in the constantly active service, maybe time. Plus, there's also the fact that in the old days, it took you a long time to get home.
Yeah.
Now you could be in a battlefield and within a few days be sitting at your kitchen table.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a hard thing for people to go through.
It's definitely, a perfect example was that we deployed to the Mediterranean from Florida, from Jacksonville, Mayport area. We were going on a Mediterranean cruise for about 6 months. And we had a couple critical key members in our crew that hadn't received a replacement, but we couldn't wait for their replacement to show up. So we brought these individuals with us. We actually had an engineer who retired from the military halfway across the ocean. He stayed with us he got an extension, but we actually held a retirement ceremony for him, ownership, while we were deploying. and when you think about that was before 2011. So he has to plan his retirement, his exit, everything, why he's forward deployed. I was lucky I had a desk job. I didn't go anywhere, and it also comes down to the person, sometimes, like I did, I got voluntold to be that guy, what they call your career counselor, to help you exit. I, lucky enough, had a lot of skill sets. So I was familiar with the process, but sometimes they're forward deployed, say like Bahrain, which is in the desert, their command career counselor might be an E5 who's only got like 4 years of service underneath their belt and has no idea and is just winging.
Yeah.
So it comes down to not only as depend is the person that's helping them process out. How involved are they? Did they know the process? Were they temporarily put in that position until somebody can fly out and replace them with the extra skill set? So there's a lot of stuff that adds to that. Even now when I meet military people and I'm explaining some of their benefits and entitlements, they're shocked. I didn't know that existed. And I've been coming to the VA for the last 3 years, and then I'm telling people, they're like, what?
Yeah. And again, we're not here to bash the
government.
We're not here to bash the VA.
No.
But improvements must be made.
Yeah.
Improvements must be made. We've made steps, but we've got so much further to do. As long as there's one homeless veteran, we should not stop working.
Yeah.
As long as there's one veteran that goes without getting the eye care that he needs, or the heart care that he needs, or the mental health care that he needs, he or she. We should be relentless in what we're doing. Now, you are a veteran yourself.
Correct.
And you served how long in which service?
U.S. Navy did about 24 years.
Wow. Well, thank you for your service, first of all.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate it. My brother's a Navy man. He served on a ship, and I can't remember the name of it. It was he was in the Gulf War.
Yeah.
You know, got fired upon by somebody with a couple of rockets and a Chris craft. Yeah, just kind of came out of nowhere and shot at him. But but he stayed in for quite a while and transitioned. Now, 24 years when you were transitioning out. Just your personal experience. Share what you want to share. And I don't think you went into that homeless experience, but did you have experiences where you didn't realize what was actually available to you? Did you have eye openers for you?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, is when I got voluntold to take in that spot, the first.
Now, let's say voluntold is not a mistake of what he's not saying. It's about being ordered to volunteer for something. That's what it is.
Yeah, basically is when we had an open position for our career counselor who would transit out. The relief got transferred to another critical location. So since we were, we're a desk job, it's not a very critical position to fill. They basically said, listen, you're the one I've worked in admin, I've worked in this field, so I'm very familiar with that. So they asked me, like, listen, we would need you to take over. So I took over. And the very first thing I did was I started reading, talking. I called the VA, I called the VFW, I called state entities to learn the process. And I was quite shocked about how it's not that they're not available to help vets. It's getting that information to the individual.
Can you give us a specific example of something that made you go, holy cow, like something you found out? Can you think of anything specific?
Oh, the one
I really want to give a real indication of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, like the biggest one that really was education is one of the most phenomenal things that they offer for vets and their family members. Everybody, I will tell you, California and Texas are the two greatest states that offer the best benefits for veterans. But however, what I learned was that you had to read the fine print. The Hazelwood Act in Texas says, great, we'll take care of everything. You have all this stuff. But when you read into the fine print, it says that you had to have joined the military and had a residence in Texas to be part of that. So if you come from California, you move to Texas and say, hey, they'd be like, you joined in Massachusetts? Sorry, these benefits don't apply to you.
Wow.
California says that any dependent of a military person, regardless of where you left the military at, can go to any state-funded school for free, 90% and below, anywhere. However, you also, too, is one thing, is you as the parent of that dependent don't even have to be a resident of California, but the dependent does. Dependent, basically, they go to California for state free to become a resident of California. But there's a cap on how much that dependent can earn in a fiscal year from January to December. Now, when I left in 2018, it was roughly about $12,000. If they earn $12,000.01, they're nullified from the program. So basically, even though the child is going to a state-funded school for free, you still have to, unless they're working underneath the table, if anybody's ever been to California, you can't live on $12,000 a year.
No.
But however, that's the way the program works. Now, the caveat on top of that is 100%. No worries, no income, nothing applies to anything other than dependent, just has to be a resident of California. But however, the privy works is that between the ages up to the age of 26, the dependent had to be between that age bracket at the time that the veteran was considered 100% disabled. So if your kid is 27, say, I forgot, I can't remember what the minimum, I think it was like 16 or 13 or some weird number. But so if you got 100% disabled when they were 12 years old, that doesn't apply to them. There's certain criteria that are in there.
Yeah.
Those are some of the things that, but.
And to research all of that.
Yeah, the research.
It's not like it's really readily available. Now, you're saying they have kind of like this process of processing somebody out of the military service takes place over a period of time. Realistically, are they giving it enough time so that they can spend the time with the individual and show them everything that's available to them? Are they given enough time to do that? Again,
it comes down to is where are they leaving the military service? Are they on a desk job or are they forward deployed? And the individual that's helping them process, how knowledgeable are they? How much are they invested in? If it's one person to 12 or 13, you're okay. But if you're like, say, in the Army and it's 1 against 75, 100 people who are exiting military service, how much energy do you put into one person? I've seen it happen and where like, hey, listen, here's the checklist. Come see me in 6 months when you completed this checklist. You're on your own. You know, depends. I said I was lucky enough being in a small command, being at a desk job. I was able to give more attention to the individuals that were leaving.
Right.
Plus, the individuals I was working with mostly were senior. They were E5 and above and officers. So a lot of them had been in the military for quite a number of years. So the transitioning out was a lot easier to explain to them than you're forward deployed in, you know, Europe or wherever you're stationed, and your 4-year contract is up and you're going home and and you don't get all the information. You don't understand how the process works, and and then of course there's always a little bit of pride. You know, there's quite a few individuals, men and women, who are like, well, you know, I did my time. I'm strong. I don't need somebody to help me, and sometimes the pride gets in their way of asking for help.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, you're supposed to be one of the biggest badasses on the planet when you're in any member of any service, and so asking for help is not something that you're practiced in, or something that kind of goes along with that moniker of who you were. I'm a Marine. I'm not asking somebody for help. I'm a you know.
Yeah.
So let's get back to Mission United, because this is important. I mean, you know, people are coming out, and they're ending up in bad situations. Like you said, you're not just giving them handouts. You're giving them opportunities, and opportunities that they deserve, and making those opportunities palatable and people are able to do them. Are you actually meeting some of the veterans yourself?
I've met actually several vets. Now, my particular role is to go out and advocate and talk to politicians and educate them on what we're doing at this level, and making them understand exactly what we bring to the table and where their tax dollars are going. I have partners and coworkers who actually go out and meet these vets. But I have personally met quite a few of them since, you know, even before I worked for Mission United, and some of their stories are quite amazing.
I was just going to ask you, can you give us an indication of some of the stories that maybe people, like I said, a lot of people are thinking, well, they came home and they're crazy, or they got PTSD, or they got damaged, or they're addicted, or something. Can you share like a story that people might not, you know, not know that happens to people? Like, there's normal stories where.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's different. Like, for once, we always assume that homeless people are particularly men. It's not. It's changed. There's women. Those are the ones that are amazing stories. I'm not sure if I shared it last time, but my most favorite story was a Army mom. She had 2 young kids fleeing a domestic issue. She lost her job. She lost her home. You know, she's fleeing this case. She shows up here in Broward County with us is because she has friends here, not family here, but she has friends here that she considers family. And then COVID hits. Everything's in chaos. What is she doing? She doesn't have a car. So by partnering with her and talking and sitting with her about, you know, Mission United, put it up for in an extended stay, you know, working with Career Source Broward, which is an American Job Center, helping her find employment, you know, and sitting down and talking about that this woman doesn't have drug issues. She doesn't have, you know, like a stress and anxiety, but she never served in a war zone because she was primarily in an Army, in a storage unit. I'm sorry. She was in supply.
Yeah.
You know, even talking with this woman, she didn't consider herself a vet. She was like, I'm never deployed. I'm not a combat vet. I sat back, I did paperwork and moved boxes around. And she was, you know, trying to be self-reliant. I'm a strong mom. I can take care of my kids. But, you know, working with her and talking through her, trying to get her over these, you know, I said this pride thing to help her let us. And it ended up working out, you know. And of course, you know, we're not just sending her to a non-veteran to help her. These are veteran people. The people who we're working with have been in different situations. So we were able to sit down, 2 or 3 of us who have backgrounds, military, Navy, Army. Sorry, there were 2 Navy people. And we convinced her to allow us, and she trusted us, to help her out of the situation. Now she's blossomed. She has her own car. She's got her own place. She's got a fantastic job. She's making really good money. She's thriving. But, it's not always it. But, I mean, I do have a couple vets that have come along that are, I don't want to use it, but they have a lot of mental and psychological issues that despite all of that, we were still able to help them with somebody to help them in we got them in a job like Uber, that helps them flex into society without really putting them in a situation that would cause other people harm or themselves harm.
Right. Well, that's awesome because I like I said, I think people just make assumptions.
Yeah.
When they see a homeless vet, that there's like I said, a lot of people think it's just men. I mean, there's women out there. Not the equal opportunity they were looking for, but it's getting there where there's almost as many women out there.
Yes.
With kids.
Yeah.
Sometimes these people are out there with their families and their kids. It's not just coming back. I mean, a vet can come home and he and his whole family can end up out there.
Yeah. It could be now you got to think about it as like, say with the typical husband, military, wife, spouse kind of situation with two kids. Moving around doesn't understand it's an impact not only on the kids but on the spouse's ability to work. When you move to a location and they come in and say, yeah, it's like, what brings you here and why? Well, I'm a military spouse. The employer's like, well, how long will this person be here? I'm putting money and effort in to train this person who may only be here 6 months. They may be here 4 years. Why would I want to hire somebody that, they got a sporadic hire? So now they get out, and depending on, the collaboration between the two partners, like I ended up in Florida because my wife wanted to be closer. It's not exactly where I wanted to be, but it made her happy and I'm okay with it. But some other people where one partner or the other dominates the decisions.
Sure.
So they end up in some place they've never been before or wherever they're like, yeah, there's a job opportunity. The spouse, trying to find work, well, how come you haven't worked in the last 10 years? Because of the military spouse. So it makes it harder for them to work. So they're not bringing income. And then the spouse finds the perfect job and all of a sudden, like COVID comes along, they lose their job.
Yeah. Was there a spike with COVID with veterans and homeless problems?
Oh, quite a lot.
Yeah.
We actually, we went into overdrive. Basically, is the only way to try. It's like, okay, regardless of my job position, listen, we got to sit down and we're talking to community partners. It's one of the things we're constantly doing. It's like, okay, this is the issues we're facing. How can we as a group fix this? Yeah, okay, so I can help them with this. And then building that relationship with the community going, okay, so where are you seeing the issues? Where are you running short on? Well, I'm having it. Hey, let's see if we can collaborate together and fix this issue. And that's what we had to do. We had to get together and say, listen, I get that you have your money and you have we can't work in these, as my boss likes to say, silos.
Yeah.
We got to figure out how to do this as a group. One of the things that my boss and I are talking about is we sent out a survey is what services are we offering and what do you think we could do better? Not only, one thing you got to stop out, these are the services, but are they the services the veterans are looking for? So that's what we're talking about. So we're reaching out to not only vets, we're looking at community part. Tell us what services are missing. What is not being covered? What can we do? So that's what we're trying to do is we're trying to get outside those items.
Now, at the core of Mission United, it's about housing.
Housing.
That's at the core of it.
That is the core of it.
But you've kind of hinted at the fact that you also work with other agencies. So if they need to find a job, you help them to get in touch, get connected, and do all that. So with your core, it's the housing, but you involve yourself in other areas so that you can help in many different ways, right?
Yeah, they call it our 6 pillars. Our primary grant is for rapid rehousing.
Okay.
VA has the SSVF program that we're into, the homeless veteran HVRP. Those are our primary core is to get them off the street and get them into stable housing of some type. But the other pillars that we work is employment. While we are not an employment agency, we have a connection with community agencies, staffing agencies, as well as we have connections with employers who work directly with us who want to help veterans.
There are a lot of them out there that really like hiring veterans, and it's beautiful to see that.
Yeah. And then we deal with education. We're trying to get them training. So we work with, our American Job Centers. We have to get them in like, okay, so you did great, but your education, your cert might be a little bit out of. So what can we do to improve your chances of getting a higher paying job, or maybe shifting into a field? Because, sometimes I've worked with vets where their disability is triggered by their current job. They need to move into something else that doesn't. It's less physical or less mental, or, whatever they need. Then we work into the medical side of the house. We get them, psychology. We're working with Nova University, helps us, because dental is not one of those items that's covered by the VA because of financial constraints. So Nova helps us get them the dental care that they need at no cost. So that's where we cover them. Plus, we can help them with psychological. They need to talk to a social worker or a therapist. We cover that. We also deal with, part of that is the VA. We have a connection with them where we actually have people at our location to help them. Like, okay, did you file for your disability claim? When was the last time you had it checked and updated? So they work with them to make sure that, hey, listen, this is where you are. But however, with new updates to policies and laws, let's look at see if maybe we can move you into covered other areas. So those are, like I said, the job, medical. We actually have legal. We actually work very closely with legal aid. So we actually have a person on staff who's there to provide legal advice to help them, guide them through the process of either maybe working the process without a lawyer, or working with them to make sure that they're attached to the right lawyer that works pro bono with them, so that as they're trying to get out of that situation, they're not putting themselves in financial debt trying to pay a lawyer.
And you, of course, have a great relationship with the VA as well.
Oh, yes.
So that whatever services they have, you guys can. And it's not just like somebody sits down and say, well, I need this. And you're saying, okay, well, here's the number, call them. You guys do it with them. You help them.
Yes.
You don't just say, oh, that we don't do that. You go somewhere else. Or you open these doors and you make sure that they can walk through them, right?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to bring you to these services, the vets, with minimum impact on their day and time. So twice a week right now is one of the things is where we sit down with community partners and we screen them, and we make sure they listen. If you're going to partner with us, you're going to bring something to the table. You're not just collecting data. So when they come in, we make sure that they're giving us on the back end, what are you doing with these people? Even though we do protect their information, what are you doing? Are you actually helping them? Okay, if you're not going to help them, let's get somebody else in here that will actually. So we put them all in one location so that you can see, okay, today I need housing, but I have a legal issue. Okay, let's talk to legal first before we get into housing issue to make sure it doesn't impact the other.
Right.
And then because we actually have people that from the VA, it's their system. They know they're being taken care of. And then, like I said, we monitor them on the back end. They're like, okay, how many people did you see? How many people were you able to help? So that we can make sure that we're moving in the right direction. Legal, it's the same thing. Employment, we have all this stuff that we're constantly monitoring, but we try to make as minimum impact to their time and stress as much as possible by bringing them to a single location. And quite a few of us have the capability of going to where they're at.
That's awesome, because I know with other services, including, like I said, the VA does a great job, but it could really, really suck your time because you go there, then you got to come back for another appointment, and you could wait all these months to get in, and then you got this and you got that, all sorts of things. Of course, we all go to the doctors anyway. And we know that happens to normal people too. Yep. Make sure you're here for your 10 o'clock appointment. He sees you at 2 o'clock with no apology.
Yep.
But you guys do it right. I like what you're doing. What I'm curious about before we wrap up our first show here is who's going to call you? Who's reaching out to you for help? Is it a family member? Is it the vet themselves? Is it other services that have these people come to them? Who's reaching out and saying, hey, Bob needs some help out here, or Mary needs some help?
All the above. is when I go out and I'm talking with different entities, whether I'm talking with business owners or politicians or community, leaders, is providing that information so they can refer people directly to us. Even though I don't typically see the vets directly, I'll get phone calls. Hey, somebody I talked to said, hey, listen, okay, talk to me. Tell me what's going on so I know I can point you in the right direction to the right person. Sometimes I've gotten vets call me directly. Hey, listen, but they called a number. Sometimes, we're all tired of that AI automated push 3 + 4. So they'll start punching numbers and they'll get directed to me.
Right.
I've talked to vets on the phone. Let me see what I can do. And sometimes it is brothers and sisters. We've had like a perfect example. The Florida Department of Veterans Affairs had a great grandchild of a World War II vet reach out and says, hey, listen, I'm at my wit's end with my grandpa and we need help. They called us up and said, hey, listen, this is what's going on. How can we work together to make this work? And that's what we do. So
I'm sure over the time, Mission United has been around how
long? It's essentially about 11 years.
Okay.
But United Way has been around about 85.
Well, yeah, United Way is the big daddy.
Plus, we have a connection with Broward 211, which is an emergency number that you can call. We have an agreement with them that the social worker or the counselor, whoever answers the phone, has a little bit of an intake sheet and knows exactly, and then they'll direct them to us as well. Or they'll call us and say, hey, listen, I just talked to a vet. Here's their contact information, blah, blah, blah. So we have that as well.
Yeah, and let's stress again, you made mention of that. A vet does not mean a combat vet.
No.
Anybody who's been in the service.
Served at least one day and received any discharge with the exception of a dishonorable discharge, because the VA says if you have a dishonorable discharge, you're not a vet. But so other bad disconduct, we don't care.
Yeah.
As long as you serve one day on active duty and the VA classifies you, you don't even have to have a disability. You just have to have served at least one day, regardless of which branch, whether it's Air Force or Navy or whatever. We're here to help you.
That's excellent, and I'm sure that we've seen in 11 years. You started and you're growing, and you're doing more, and you're supplying more services.
Yes,
and connecting with more people. Is maybe it's not appropriate to ask, but do you guys have a vision for what you want to be going forward into the future? I mean, is there plans, or are you guys thinking about we need to do more?
We're always thinking about doing more. We're always sitting around collaborating. Me and my coworkers will, at least once a month, we're all getting together. Okay, so let's pitch some stuff to think, like podcasts. It's a perfect example that I brought to the table about how getting that information out there to not only our younger generation, but those that, starting to come in, like what's a podcast, and starting to learn more about it, so that information is getting out there. But premier, community partner is always, but we never want to outshadow anybody else. But nationwide is definitely where one of our current goals is, like, how can we get nationwide? How can we be in every state?
Is this just Florida right now?
Primarily here, yes. It's here in Florida. Like I said, we're still in our infancy, even though we've been about 10, 11 years. So we are starting to branch out into different states, slowly but surely. We have some satellites in different locations, but primarily right now we're just here in Florida.
But yeah, I can see that every state should have certainly at least a function of what you're doing. And
like United Way is in all the states, and they do have veteran departments, but it's not like the model here in Mission United. We are sharing with them, like we've just recently had several United Ways from different parts of the country come here to talk about the things like Mission United and our model and stuff, and so that they're bringing it back so they can develop that Mission United model in their areas.
Last question, because a lot of people who do things like this end up stepping on toes, and they get a little bit. It maybe flips the script to being a little too political, or it's just a little too accusatory of, you're not doing your job, and How is your relationship with the military itself? Has that relationship been developing, or is it in development?
Well, definitely. I mean, any industry you're in, you're always bound to step on somebody's toes based on their views or whatever. Several years ago, we got in with We talked to the transition program in Southcom. We're very close with the military. We talk to recruiters when we're out in events. Anytime that we're hosting an event or being part of an event, we have a close connection with our military members going, hey, listen, do you want to be we've gone down to Southcom for their career fairs and said, hey, listen, let's go down there and share this information. Yeah, you're getting out, but think of me as an emergency kit in the back of your car. You hope that you never need it, but you have it just in case that if something goes sideways, or you can be an advocate for us that you're out and about and you run into family members and stuff. So we share that information. We're very close with our military members as they're exiting service as well, to let them know that, listen, we got to work together. It may not be you that needs us, but you may run into somebody who does, and you'll know where to point them. So It's a really great collaboration. But yeah, we're very close with the military in different branches, Coast Guard, the Army, and Everest, etc.
That's excellent. If somebody wants more information or wants to reach out to you or just learn more, what's the website they can go to?
Well, it's United Way is the primary website, but for Mission United Safe, you would just United Way of Mission United of Broward. You would search for that, and it would bring up our webpage. You can always call Broward 211 and ask them to be connected to us. That's a quick way to do it, so you don't have to remember all the phone numbers and 954 and all of this. All you got to do is just call 211. Say, hey, listen, can you connect me with Mission United? And it's a much smoother process.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
3 numbers.
And you even if somebody's just not sure if they need the services, it's better to call and ask, right?
Yeah, by all means. Like I said, we've had people ask us. I've met people out on the street, chit chat, and like, hey, I have, what is it, and I've given, a perfect example. I met a nice gentleman from Michigan through LinkedIn, and we got to chit chat, and it turns out he's on a homeless board in his community. And we got to chit chat and sharing information. And I explained to him, like, hey, listen, call me because I get vets all the time, but I'm not a veteran. I don't know what to do with them. Call me. So we have a connection. I've had, most recently, I like to share a story, is one of the towns called me and said they had a widow of a veteran, and she's at a loss on how to collect death benefits. By all means, let me talk to her. And I talked her through the process. Even though it's not part of our services, I talked her on where to go, and I gave her a connection to my personal connection in the VA. This is the person you're going to call, and they're going to help you fill out the paperwork so that to make sure that you can get taken care of.
Excellent.
So,
feel good about what you do?
I love what I do. There's in order to be in this type of work, there's a calling, there's a passion, whether it's or a past experience that because I've worked with people that were actually part of a program before they became it, and there's no words for it. I mean, the ability just to help someone's in need overcome maybe a simple, or help them thrive where, and just see the things that you just a small part that you play in part, watch them grow and become better people in the community, and then paying it forward, watching them, because when you help somebody in this industry, you're giving them the gift to pay it forward to eventually help somebody else down the road, whether it be a family member or be a friend or whatever, because they went through that process. So there's nothing compared to it.
That's fantastic. One brother, one sister is very proud to be aligned with you guys now. Yeah. And it's great. I appreciate the work that you do. And it's always good to have something that you can be passionate about.
Yeah.
There's so many people out there that just get up and they go to work every day, and it's like it's just the drudgery, and it's but to have passion about what you do is just a beautiful thing. You pass it on to your people. Mission United, please check it out. You can go to United Way and look up the Mission United program. It's such an awesome thing. If there's one homeless vet, if there's one homeless person, that's one too many, but one homeless vet, they definitely deserve more than that. We count on them for the very freedoms in which we live, and they certainly have earned. And I have no idea why they would ever feel that it's charity, because God knows they've earned these services. They've earned it simply by signing that paper and saying, "I'll give my life for this country." They have earned that stuff. It's not charity. They don't have to worry about their pride. So if you are a veteran out there and you're worried about accepting help, you've earned these things, and you've earned so much more than this too. And hopefully one day we'll truly honor our vets the way they should be honored. But we're getting there, right?
Definitely. And even if you don't need the services or whatever, if you want to learn or if you have a question, call us. If I don't know, I'll ask another vet, because there's quite a few of us that are veterans that work for Mission United, and I have quite a few community partners of vets that, how do I just give us a call? Even if you're not in need of anything, just give us a call and we'll point you in the right direction.
Maybe you're an employer, and like we said, that you really like to give vets a chance and help them out. Contact them, let them know who you are, and they can get you into the rotation of all these great people. If you have any special services that your company, that you personally want to help share with vets, let them know. The more information you have, the better you're going to be for your clients as well.
Definitely. If you want to sponsor an event or you want to be part of an event, we're always open to that. And just because you sponsor an event doesn't mean we'll keep you in the shadow. We'll make sure Forefront, everybody knows that you participated, that you're a veteran-friendly program, and you're connected with us. We'll let everybody know, because that's all about is many hands make a light load.
That's exactly it. So again, you are watching From Battlefront to Homefront, a new podcast. We'll be coming to you once a month, sometimes a little bit more than that, depending on what's going on. If we have special events, we'll have a special podcast. We'll bring that to you. If you'd like to know more about any of this, please get a hold of Mission United. You can always contact us right here at Sober Life Studios or at One Brother, One Sister. Go to onebrother1sister.com. You can email us. You can call us, and we can connect you with Mission United as well. So there's a lot of ways to get there. But let's do it. Let's honor our vets, and let's let them know just how much they mean to us by helping out with these services. Sean, we're going to be back in 2 weeks to start our regular rotation. We're going to have special guests. We're going to maybe you want to be a guest. Maybe you're a veteran and you want to talk about these things. Let us know. Go to onebrother1sister.com and shoot me an email, or you can email me at scott@soberlifestudios.com and let me know if you want to be a guest, or if you know somebody who'd be an excellent guest for us to interview and talk about. But again, it's all about helping the vets. All right, Sean, thanks. Any final thoughts for anybody out there?
No, I'm here for my brothers and sisters. No request too small or too big. If you need something, give us a call.
That's right. And please don't forget to like this program, certainly subscribe to our channel, and share this with your friends. We'll catch you next time right here on From Battlefront to Homefront, the Mission United podcast. Bye-bye now.